everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Stephen Interviews You. This is episode number 10 of Stephen Interviews You, where I, Stephen Vitt, just sit down and have a good chat with a special guest. And his name would be, introduce yourself.
My name is Greg St. James of Gridiron Japan.
Nice to have you on, Greg. And I'm glad you could join me for this episode because I'm personally interested in the topic of American football in Japan and what's going on there. But for starters, let's just get right to it. Your Gridiron Japan channel. Um, what was really either the moment or what was it that inspired you and your team to start making videos about football in Japan?
Well, it started about, I'm trying to think, right after the pandemic. Me personally, I was getting ready to retire, move over to Japan, where I'm at currently, where I live currently, and huge football fan, huge sports history fan. Have another podcast called From the 55 Yard Line on the Sports History Network. And through the magic of social media and Twitter, one thing led to another, and myself, John Gunning of Inside Sport Japan and also of the Japan Times. And John is also basically the recognized English language expert on the sport of sumo here in Japan. Him and I connected, and then and the idea for the podcast was actually between myself and Zach Kyleman, who is co-host now of the UFL podcast, and very well known in alternative football circles. Him and I are friends. So we came up with the idea to start the podcast, and our first podcast was interviewing John, and we've been going ever since.
Yeah, so when it comes to the Gridiron Japan channel on YouTube, what is it when it comes to like when you guys are coming up with topics for just videos to make for your podcast? Is there like any sort of thought process that goes into it, like any sort of ideas, that brainstorming stuff like that?
Well, right now it's kind of hard because I'm retired, so I have a lot of time on my hands. But John is on the go constantly. Aaron Ellis, who is plays football here in Japan. He's a member of he plays in the subdivision, because we have relegation and advancement, kind of much like European soccer. But he plays here in Japan too. He's also a former star in the ELF. So the three of us, just getting our schedules together is kind of hard because everybody's got something going on in their life. So hopefully moving forward, we'll have quite a bit more content. The past couple of years have been challenging because of all our schedules. But basically, it's just right now, three guys sitting down, loving football, talking about what's going on in the X League, in the world of American football in Japan. And, we plan on being around for quite a while. Like I said, this is, it's a labor of love. It's not a job. So, and in terms of our YouTube channel was only recently started within the last basically year and a half, but the podcast has been going a while. And then if you go to the website, gridironjapan.jp, you can, you can find everything. I think I've pretty much included everything but the kitchen sink on our website about American football in Japan, along with links to the podcast, the old podcast episodes. There's also links to how to watch American football in Japan, either via YouTube or RTV, which is the exclusive content provider for the X League Super, which is the Premier League here in Japan, and also college football in Japan.
So speaking of the X League, because that seems to be the league that's being covered a lot in Japan. Can you, for those watching that are not familiar with the X League in Japan, could you basically describe what the X League is about? What kind of tiers, levels are there in the X
Okay.
League, and just a basic walkthrough, if you could
Okay.
provide it. Yeah.
Well, the X League in Japan. So when it comes to American football in Japan, it's not like Canada where you've got the CFL, or in America where you've got the UFL, you've got the NFL, where everybody is paid a yearly wage to play football for a specific period of time. All of these all of these teams and all of these leagues are club leagues. Okay, and everybody in these club leagues pays dues, and in order and with the club with the club leagues, with all I'm sorry, with all the teams, they're allotted so many foreigners. So it's the foreigners that come here that get paid either through club dues, through corporate sponsorship, which really there's only two main corporate sponsors now of teams, and that's Panasonic and Fujitsu, which two teams which I'm sure we're going to talk about here in just a little bit when we talk more about the X League Super. But it is very much it's kind of, the X League is kind of, if you know anything about the early history of the NFL or even of the CFL, all these guys that played football way back when held full-time jobs, and then they played football on weekends. That's what the X League is. But with football in Japan, these guys that are only part-time, they're full-time, work full-time and play part-time, they take their sport seriously. So there's a very unique talent level here in Japan when it comes to football.
That's good. Because I can only go by what I see. Obviously, I live here in the United States, and I hear, very briefly what goes on in Japan. So for you to describe that to me, that really helps me out when it
Yeah.
comes to getting to know American football in Japan. So when we talk about the X League, what is like the talent level? What kind of like the talent, if you could describe it, basically, what is it like?
Okay. Well, that's pretty much an easy one when it comes to, and we're going to talk X League Super because
Okay.
that's kind of where the comparisons can be made. So X League Super would be on the talent level of, okay, so I'm old, so just bear with me here. But back when I was college, we called it Division One AA football. So a couple of years ago, Japan won the Gridiron Japan. I'm sorry, not the Gridiron Japan, the Japan Dream Bowl. Okay, and that was an all-star team of X League Super All-Star team against an Ivy League All-Star team. So that's where I can make the comparison. And Japan beat the Ivy Leaguers in this game. It was a huge deal. So when it comes to the talent level, that's kind of where the teams are at, where football here in Japan is in terms of talent level. So it's right. It's just kind of reaching into that, second tier of American college level football. Now, when it comes to college football here, college football, the talent level is still far behind American college ball. The KG Fighters, who at the time were the defending national collegiate champions, took on Oregon Southern University, and this was a spring game almost a year and a half ago. And the KG Fighters were soundly defeated by Oregon State. Um, so, there's talent, but in terms of the level, it's honestly, it's nowhere near the United States. But then again, most countries aren't even close to the United States talent level wise when it comes to American football. But with that said, hey, still, football's football. And for me, it's always enjoyable watching the Japanese games because for me, if I got to if I have if, for me to watch the NFL or major college football requires me to get up at 1 or 3 a.m. in the morning here in Japan time. So being able to sit down and watch an afternoon game here of Japanese football, I don't care about talent level. I don't care about skill. I just enjoy football.
Yeah, so that would be a good segue into this next question that I'm going to ask about the X League in Japan. The fan bases. What are the fan bases like in the X League when they root for their team? Obviously, you've gone to the games and you've seen how the fans react to the teams. What are these fan bases like?
Okay. Well, first off, I have not, where I live in Japan, I am very, very far away from
Okay.
Tokyo and Osaka. So for me to go to an actually X League super game. That requires a lot of time and effort and travel. And unfortunately, travel in Japan here is not cheap. And where I am at, I am literally in the Georgia of Japan in terms of weather wise. Whereas Tokyo, I mean, Tokyo is like, good 4 hour bullet train ride from where I live. So, but I have been to X2 games, so I can speak. I can speak to both actually because I watch enough X League games, and I'm friends with guys that coach in the X League Super and played in X League. BJ Beatty, who is basically the Dick Butkus of Japan, was a co-host for Gridiron Japan. So, in terms of the fan base, okay, it's a very small fan base, very very small. So when you watch the X League games on TV, X League Super, you don't see too many people in the stands. You see a core group of people, people that are football fans, which there are very, very few football fans here in Japan, but also family members. So a packed stadium is pretty much unheard of here in Japan. Even the Rice Bowl, which is Japan's Super Bowl, you know, you're not filling the Tokyo Dome. You're not even close to filling the Tokyo Dome. And even when it comes to the main comparison I can give is the Koshin Bowl, which is the College Football National Championship, which I have been to. You're only talking maybe 15,000 filling stadiums that are meant to fill 45,000. So you're not, there's a fan base, but it's small, and those are the championship games. But for the regular season games, if you're cracking 2,000 fans a game, you're having that's a good turnout.
So when it comes to fans turning out to show up for the games, what is it about the X League when it comes to promoting the games? Do you think they're doing a good job of promoting the games? Do you think they're marketing the game well there?
No, no, they
No.
don't market it. They don't.
Okay.
I mean, other than what you see on social media, and I don't know how much you've dug down into the cesspool that is social media, but for podcasts like ours and what we do, it's kind of a necessary evil that we must have social media. They do stuff on social media, but this is Japan. This is a place where baseball rules. Shohei Otani is everywhere. Everybody here is a Dodgers fan. So when it comes to American football, it's non-existent. There is no marketing because the X League, from what I can tell, doesn't even try. Um, the only the only example or comparison I can give would be to the CFL, and I don't know how familiar you are with the CFL, but the CFL does not promote their game, and it's kind of like the X League. They don't promote, and then nobody shows up, and you have very poor turnout of things. I mean, American football could rule in Japan because, American football has all of the elements that are so Japanese: teamwork, self-sacrifice, everybody relying on each other. The problem is they just don't promote. They don't explain the rules, and so it's never really gained a foothold here. It had a chance back in the 80s and 90s when the NFL came to Japan and played exhibition games, but now, no, no. It's very disheartening for a podcast like ours when we're the only English language guys covering the game. It's nice to know we're the only game in town, but we're a group of experts. I mean, we've got we've got a direct line to all the American coaches and American players that play in the X League. John is a historian. He's an expert on the game here, and we're fortunate to have that. But in terms of there's really nothing. I mean, there's American football. What little American football I've seen here has been in the fashion. Sometimes you'll see girls or men wear and a lot of it's secondhand used stuff, vintage stuff that they pick up somewhere and it's cool and they buy it. But when I see a Packer sweatshirt here in my town, and I've seen a few, I know for sure that they're not Packer fans. It's kind of a long way around to explain, the non-existence of American football here. But there are fans. There are hardcore fans in Japan. But as you can see behind me, I mean, this is This is my NFL collection that I brought back from the States. Um, I would like to I put the challenge out to anybody who's from Japan. If they can top what I have behind me, that'll tell you that this is the only true American football man cave that I know of in Japan. So, which is sad. I wish there were more.
Yeah, it's really impressive. All the merchandise you have back there behind you. So
Well, a lot of it back here is older than you. I can
yeah,
guarantee you that.
yeah. So so yeah, my follow-up question to that then would be, what do you think the X League could do to do a better job of promoting and marketing their league, the game?
Well, promoting and marketing it is a start. I mean, uh, the NFL is ubiquitous back home. You know, you look at let's use an example back in the states. Baseball is a fading sport. Honestly, I mean, I lived in Chicago, so we both had the Cubs and the Sox, and I rooted for both teams. But there's no media coverage here of American football in Japan, and the only time there is a media coverage is if if there's a scandal with one of the college teams, and we've had a few where one scandal involved one player. I forget, it was a targeting. Basically, I think kind of placing a bounty. They didn't like yeah, but it was like a bounty gate.
Mm,
And one college team here completely got the SMU treatment, and they killed the football program because of a few guys smoking marijuana here in Japan.
mm.
And marijuana here, I mean, it's it, the, Japan is very conservative. So anything that goes against the grain, they're gonna they're not gonna put up with. And one of the universities, one of the Nihon University, they killed the football program just like a year and a half ago, and it was huge. I mean, it was for something that, yes, it's illegal. Obviously it's illegal, to use, but it was overkill, and they killed the program, and we lost a major college program here in Japan, and there aren't that many. So
So the next question that I would have would be, you guys have been watching American football in Japan, the X League, for a while now. Um, when it comes to memories, what are some of your greatest memories of watching Japanese football? Like any good games that stick out to you, or
in the last year we had a good game, and that was, and again, for me, it's a TV experience for me. So um, I'm just going to tell you about my experience because, I sit here in my man cave, and this is my football room too. Being able to watch on a Friday, having some Friday night lights, watching on TV, watching IBM and Tokyo Gas go at it, and a very, very close game at the Tokyo Dome. It's like, this is what football is all about. This is what the X League should be all about. Because unfortunately, Saturdays and Sundays here during autumn, sports wise, it's crickets. It's eerie. I mean, I knew that before I moved here, so that I wasn't culture shock. Had no culture shock whatsoever. I've been coming here I got married here, and been coming here for 30 years, and now I live here. So I've always known what Saturdays and Sundays like are in autumn. And autumn Japan is beautiful. It's kind of nice too, because I can at least go out, after watching football games early morning, and go out on the weekends and enjoy autumn here, and not have to worry about a football getting back or missing the colors for a football game. But autumn wise, I mean, that night watching that, it's like this is what football is all about. Just watching a very very close game, and I had a vested interest. No, I know the head coach of IBM, so it's yeah. So that's my fondest memory, and that's a recent memory too. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. So the next question that I do have is, as far as the players that have come and gone through the X League, have there been any like real success stories of these players, whether they've gone on to play in other football leagues or if they've taken on other roles in their careers? Have there been
Well,
any success stories?
we got two success. We actually have three success stories going on right now
Okay.
with the X League. You got Tyler Kulka, who quarterbacked the Obic Seagulls. Um, Played here for a couple of years. Just in this past month, took the Nashville Cats to the Arena Cup. Right? Was it
Mm.
the Arena? The Arena Football League has changed its name so many times. Arena Football won, so he took them to the championship game. So that's success number one, and who knows? I mean, by this time next year, I mean, he's playing in another arena league now, but he's pushing his career forward as a quarterback, and hopefully he might, we might see him in the NFL, we might see him in the UFL, might see him in the CFL the way he's been going. And then we have Colby Campbell and Boogie Knight, both guys play football here in Japan. But this past weekend, they got their first championship rings in professional football because they played for the Mexicas in the LFA. I don't know if you're familiar with the Mexican Football League, but and Colby was named. I think Colby was named MVP. So you got those three guys, and we have interviews with all three of them on our podcast. And I'm going to be pushing out probably sometime today or tomorrow the replays of those interviews we did with them when they were just kind of first starting out here in their career in Japan. So you've got three good examples of Japanese football success stories just within this month. So and then you've got other past players. And again, BJ Beatty is the guy I'll use as the main example. BJ played here for 10 years. I mean, he is the Dick Butkus of Japan, and also one of the funniest guys that I know. So, yeah, guys that come here and play in Japan, it's one of those things with Japan. Either you love it or you don't. And guys like BJ, his brother Bronson, um, who plays for Fujitsu, John Stanton, who played for IBM for a long time, and several other guys um, have made lives here in Japan, have made Japan their home. So, in terms of the success story, that's kind of how I count the success story. They come here, they find life, they find love, they excel in their profession, and they stay for the rest of their lives. So that's another way to define success too.
So, getting into this, you mentioned earlier that there are just very few college programs that have football teams in Japan. Um, when it comes to that, have there been any stories of like players that have come from those colleges that are trying to make their way over to the United States to continue their playing careers in the United States?
You've got maybe one or two examples, but um, they usually don't. They
Hmm.
usually don't. It's really a hard because of the language, because of the language. English is taught in Japan, but the quality of English language education here is not very good. So having those English skills is something that, for if a Japanese player dreams of playing football in the United States, well, they should be learning English every day. And I say this as somebody who's very bad about learning Japanese every day. But that's how they're going to make it in America and American football. If they want to play in America and play, if they want to go to American college, play American football, the English language skills are really number one, and then after that, it's your athletic ability.
Yeah, and I was bringing that up because it has started to be a topic of sorts here in the United States, international recruiting, uh, as in college programs here in America recruiting talent from abroad, from other countries. So I was just wondering from that standpoint if there would be like any opportunities for Japanese players to be possibly recruited to American colleges. That's
Well, I mean,
yeah.
that's a good question and one I really don't know the answer to. But what I can tell you is, I mean, honestly, I've been here what almost it's going on 3 years this year, and a lot's changed in America. Especially a lot's changed in terms of education, how education's funded. I went to a college what had at the time when I went 14,000 students, and it's now half of that enrollment. So the nature of higher education is changing, and in terms of NIL and all that stuff. Now, my question to you is, why the push for international students? Because, I mean, is there a need for international? I mean, are people saying there's a need to branch out and get more bodies from outside the United States?
Well, from
Excuse
what
me.
I gather, from what I hear, there's been like just discussions, not aggressively, but just there have been like discussions from like uh, various college football fans and also conferences because we can see what's going on with the college football with all these powerful conferences, the
Right.
SEC,
Yeah.
Big Ten, all those guys that they're branching out with all their media deals with ESPN and all these networks, and now they're starting to get into like streaming networks like Netflix and places like that. And so they're trying to expand their footprint, not just in the United States. They're trying to expand more globally, so to speak. So that's why these discussions have been kind of starting to take place.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would not be surprised to see, you know, college foot. We'll just use college football as a general overview, but branching out with international deals because there is trying to watch major college football here in Japan. Man, that's hard. I mean, I have to find a pirate YouTube feed or something coming in for me to watch a big game. Or, ESPN is changing their whole model now and coming out with a pay for service. But we all pay enough for football as it is, and I don't know how many people are willing to plunk down the money to have full access to all ESPN. But then over here, um, and this is kind of another topic, but it's kind of drawing us into this one. Um, a lot of stuff's geo blocked. A lot of streaming stuff is geo blocked, and that's in the states, but I can't watch here unless I have the right VPN to say watch ESPN Plus, um, to watch the Super Bowl, say on Tubi or Pluto if it's on. Last year Fox put the Super Bowl for free on Tubi, which I was able to watch here, and it worked out well with the VPN. Um, but in terms of going back to the international aspect, I mean, I would hope American scouts are looking at the high school kids here and coming to the major college programs, but they're not, as far as I know. But I mean, there's talent here. But then, with that said, here the birth rate has been declining steadily, and it's only getting worse. So 10 years from now, we may not be having this discussion because I hate to say it, and 10 years from now, you're not going to see as many college programs just because of the birth rate.
Yeah, and just sticking to that, the international recruiting, I will give you one example of international recruiting. This happened a couple years ago to a college football team that I follow here in America. I follow the Ohio Bobcats of the Mid American Conference. That's a group of six conference team. And so a couple years ago, they recruited a running back from the country Germany. His name is Duncan Brune, and I just that alone, that guy's story, it fascinates me because he comes from Germany. How did he get here? What inspired him to want to come here? So and I've been a fan of his ever since. Been rooting for him to see the field and to have more playing time. So that's like one of many examples I could use to describe like potential interest in any international recruits for any college team?
Well, to talk about international recruiting, I mean, we've got just an example, um, of a Japanese guy playing for a college program. Uh, Hidetoro Hideo, man, I'm having a hard time this morning. I've only had one cup of coffee. Um, Hideo Tora Hanada at Colorado State.
I think
So
I've heard of him. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And actually, hang on a second here. Let me just check something here. And while you guys are, well, I'm sorry, hang on just a second. Let me just look something up here
Yeah.
with him. Oops, hang on a second here. I should have been more prepared here with notes this morning.
It's okay. And I'm also thinking of another player. I forget his name, but I just like recently I watched like a short YouTube video about his story. It's like a kicker from Japan actually making the team at Oregon State University, Oregon
Okay,
State
well then
Beavers. Yeah,
oh, Oregon State. Okay,
yeah,
I was thinking Southern Oregon. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean kickers. Yeah, I mean there are. I mean there, but it's few and far between, and that's kind of the. I mean we don't have. There's no Hideo Nomo yet. That's coming over to the United States and really opening up doors. I mean Les Maru, who plays for Winnipeg in the CFL, and he hasn't opened up any doors. Unfortunately, the floodgates haven't opened. If you remember your baseball history, after Hideo Nomo signed with made a splash with the Dodgers, that's when the floodgates opened. When all the Japanese talent slowly started coming to the states, to where now it's ubiquitous. Every team, um, you know, I mean, Japanese players making it big in the major leagues now is not a big deal. It's fact. It's made baseball a truly international sport. But unfortunately, we just haven't had those breakout stars yet,
yeah,
international stars.
yeah. So it's just for me, the topic just intrigues me because I do think, and this is just my opinion, but I do think with the right resources, with the right help, and you need like established relationships. Um, I do think it's possible for some Japanese football players to make that transition to American college football, provided, of course, they learn English language, but also got to have the talent to do it to
Yeah,
play
yeah,
football. But
yeah.
I do think it can be done.
It can be done. It's a heavy lift, though. Truly a heavy lift. Um, but it's not, and that's not to discourage anybody from pursuing their dream. Um, but again, it starts with the language, and I mean, But using an example, a guy coming over from Germany. I mean, coming over to Germany, the United States, kind of easy because in Europe, um, English is the second language for pretty much everybody. So, but here, I mean, English is everywhere. But and I say this because I teach English and do a little part time teaching English. Um, they just don't have. I mean, in terms of speaking it, might be different with reading it, but when it comes to speaking it, that's where the challenge lies. But it has everything to do with the education system here. So if anybody, um, anybody who hears here in Japan has a talent, and I mean, can do things on the football field nobody's seen, but if they can't speak English, then them making it in the United States is, next to nil. And I'm not saying that to discourage anybody, but you know, having lived in both countries, I know what the challenges are living in both countries, and being the only Japanese guy on a team with very few guy with nobody that speaks your language, it's a challenge. So, but it can be done. But I think part of it's going to have to come from the NFL. without the NFL helping out, without the investment made by the NFL, I don't think we're going to see it. I mean, NFL made a huge investment in Europe. They play European games now. I mean, I was watching an ELF game here the other day, and the announcer, and I don't know how much of it was true or not, but he said, hey, the second most popular sport on TV in Germany is the NFL. So we don't have that here. Nobody knows what the NFL is.
And that goes back to marketing, promoting, which we
Yeah,
talked about earlier. So,
yeah.
yeah. So going back to your Gridiron Japan channel, looking ahead to the future, what are some things that you guys at Gridiron Japan? What are some things that you guys would like to do as far as future videos? Any projects that you may want to do?
Well, we're gonna get down doing more history stuff. You know, I gotta work on my video editing skills, and um, you know, we're planning on doing episodes of team histories and stuff like that as we kind of move forward. So hopefully, you know, and also more interviews with players and coaches. I mean, that's kind of our big thing. I mean, we kind of have a direct line to most of these guys, and to do more of those. There's a lot of people that have played in the X League, that have played in the X League. We have yet to interview, so it's and we try to do, you know, we try to do an episode a month. Sometimes it's not always possible, but yeah, that's kind of our goal. I mean, it's a labor of love. So, and we don't do it. I mean, I would love to see much more people subscribe to our YouTube page, which is at Gridiron Japan on YouTube. And I think you can go to, if you type in your browser, Gridiron Japan TV.net, that'll lead you there too. But yeah, we need more people looking at our YouTube page. I'm not one to big saying, hey, look at us, hit the like and subscribe button, because you'll never hear that on our podcast. But you know, the more people that are looking at our, because there are people that put some great stuff out on YouTube about American football in Japan. Unfortunately, a lot of it's filled with wrong information, and most importantly, if you're watching this, hey, make sure you get the permission of the people that took the pictures and took the videos before posting it to YouTube, because we've had situations here where I've had to tell people that have done stuff. Great, I mean, and I understand their heart's in the right place, but you can't use somebody's image. You can't use pictures somebody took without getting their permission. Ask their permission, and then you can use it. And you know, that's sometimes it's an uphill battle, because I'm not. None of these are my pictures, or friends of mine pictures that friends of mine have taken, that I've been like, dude, do you have his permission to do that? Oh no. Well, then, because otherwise, it's, you know, it may get pulled from YouTube because you violated copyright stuff. And I don't want to get into anything about copyright law, but yeah, you just got to be careful when it comes to YouTube and posting stuff. And so we try to avoid most of that by just doing these one-on-one interviews, because when it comes to it just, that's a whole tricky subject. But we plan on doing more history videos, you know, where we sit down, we talk about the history of the teams, all of the teams, hopefully. But that's kind of a long-term project, nothing short-term.
Yeah. So yeah, I do think that that'd be great to just get more information about the X League and what's going on with all the teams there, and to get the the right information about the league and the teams. So, I mean, I would
Yeah,
look forward to that. So,
yeah. I mean, I'm an old guy, so I'm partial to text. So for me, it's a lot easier to read something like on Wikipedia. And fortunately, you know, the Wikipedia, I mean, a lot of times the information's outdated, but sometimes it's wrong, but usually it's within the ballpark. And the beautiful thing is, I don't have to worry about copyright. I have to worry about copyrights when I write something out. So I'm still very much old school. Again, I'm going to be 58 here this month. I grew up in the age of newspapers and antenna TV. So you know, stuff on. I love YouTube. I love anything I see with Japanese football. I watch, though sometimes I don't, because I don't want to be yelling at the screen going, dude, you got it wrong. You got it wrong. Because there's a lot of misinformation about Japan and about American football here too, which really, really, it grades on me, and if it grades on me, I know it really bothers my other buddy, my co-hosts and everything, if they see it, and even other websites that have posted stuff going, yeah, you know what, you can't use just a translator to rehash articles you found on the X League website. You need to edit through and, you know, because AI is great, but a lot of times AI is wrong too. So those are my pet peeves. So yeah, hopefully we'll be just doing more long-term projects with the history of the game. And because again, my basis for everything American football is based on history, which is why my other podcast is on the Sports History Network, and why you see my tribute to the 70s and 60s and 80s and behind me.
Yeah. So with that, we are going to finish this interview. Yeah. Thank you so much, Greg
Oh, you're
St.
welcome.
James, for taking me through American football in Japan to see what's going on in Japan, because it's a topic that's really interested me. It's really makes me wonder what's going on abroad, not just in the United States.
Yeah, there's a lot going on internationally, and like I said, the LFA just finished their championship, and you know, you had a star here in the X League win the MVP for that league. So I mean, MVP for the the championship game there for the LFA. So yeah, there's talent. I mean, we've got guys from the states come over here and they love it, and it's a great opportunity. But the only unfortunate thing here is, and that's something else I didn't cover as we wrap things up. But when it comes to the X League, they limit the number of foreigners to three. So the opportunities to play here, because I get emails all the time saying I can play in the X League, hook me up. No, no, dude, you gotta. There's a right way and a wrong way, and emailing our podcast asking for help. I mean, we would love to help, but you got to contact the teams. You gotta use social media. You've got to. But we're not the place to go. We're not a scouting department, I guess I should say.
Yeah. So Um, for those of you guys watching this, I'll provide a link in the description box below to the Gridiron Japan channel. Please check them out. Please check Greg and his team out. They produce great content. They come up with great stuff talking about American football in Japan, and particularly the X League. Once again, Greg St. James, thank you so much for being my guest here tonight, here in America tonight, and morning where you're at in Japan.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm interested down the road in the future to know more about American football in Japan, to see what's going on. So,
All right. Well, great talking to you, Steve.
all right, thank you so much, Greg,
You're welcome.
and we'll be back with more interview content very soon, guys. This is Steven interviews you, episode 10, and I'll be signing off for now. Take care, guys.